Suddenly at this time, the person walking in front of them raised his hand to signal. Captain, I think we're there. She looked suspiciously at the place in front of her. A tunnel. Everyone looked together, forward, saw two guys wearing strange chicken head masks sitting around a fire in front of the tunnel entrance. Gyong-hee looked at them. Who were those perverted chicken head guys? Suddenly, a Hyung, standing next to Gyong-soo, held the gun and launched it forward. She landed in front of those two guys, surprising them. What the heck? Before he could finish his sentence, a Hyung's gun thigh hit him straight. One guy's face caught him off guard. The other guy saw his accomplice being attacked and cursed. Damn, that's terrible. He pulled out a small knife hidden on his body. But before he could do anything, a foot was brought in front of his eyes. A Hyung raised his foot and kicked the guy in the face, causing the chicken head mask to fall off. The scene before them made all three Gyong-soo's group gasped in surprise. She picked up the radio and announced to the other side. Allo testing, successfully took down two guards. I will begin the operation stupidly now. Gyong-soo turned around to look at Gyong-hee and said leisurely. That's a wonderful body. Let's go. Gyong-hee looked at him in confusion. Wonderful. Suddenly a Hyung turned around and raised her hand. Stop them. Stop. You guys are standing here and in the middle of these two guys. The three people behind suddenly said at the same time. What? Gyong-soo then added, but she was a bit stupid. A Hyung looked at them. From the beginning, it was unreasonable for KNP-soo and several neighborhood policemen to work together. Gyong-hee angrily looked at her. The neighborhood police. Haven't finished speaking yet. You interrupted her. The neighborhood police are against my orders. I let you follow just because it was the office's order. It's just a high-ranking official, but... Step back. You guys are just getting in the way. Gyong-soo looked at her and smiled and repeated. Getting in the way. Okay. You guys just go on your mission. It won't be a waste anyway. Every sweat is better. She looked at him with a satisfied smile. You finally obeyed my orders. Then she turned around and walked forward, giving orders to the rest. Now we'll go inside. Gyong-soo watched them leave without saying anything else. In his heart he thought, that place is where, after defeating the two guards at the door, they walked to a door, and loud music continuously emanated from inside, and headed down a long flight of stairs. To the door, the front slowly opened. The group rushed inside. A Hyung ordered everyone to take a seat. Her voice stopped and looked at the situation inside in shock. That was where the music was. Collapsed. But the people standing there were like zombies, swaying back and forth. She looked at those people like walking corpses. What the hell? Were those people? What's wrong? At this time there was a figure sitting upstairs watching them. He breathed out and said, I knew this would happen, but everything is bad. Then he turned on the walkie-talkie and said into it, Ahum. This is an announcement for all current club members. Currently in the club, there are some uninvited guests coming, trying to ruin this party. If you can take them down and bring them here to me. For each one you bring, I will reward you with a free medicine supply card, unlimited fees for 1 month. As soon as he finished speaking, those zombie-like people started rushing towards the KNP team members. Sue. Let the Phoenix operation on top of the Paulonia tree begin. Then now a Hyung shouted loudly to order the team members. Everyone raised their shields. While a Hyung shouted the command, raised their shields, everyone in the club rushed forward like an animal with raised hands. Every single person in the KNP-soo team was fully equipped with weapons and shields in front of them, ready to fight. They were like wild beasts roaring and rushing forward. 4 people shielded and stood in front, while 5 people split up to hold guns and attack. Their heads hit straight into their shields. Their hands lunged forward. A soldier holding a gun was frightened by their madness. He said in horror, why are these guys so strong? These addicts rushed forward as if they were looking for drugs. Their faces were covered with blue veins. Their eyes were red. Their bodies were out of control and kept rushing forward. Dong Chol sucked the medicine candy in his mouth, smiled triumphantly and said, You guys can't open fire because if you do that you'll get in trouble. Understand? However, a Hyung didn't pay attention to him but took out the bomb and loudly ordered it. Holding his gun, putting on the mask, they answered in unison, Yes, sir. As soon as she finished speaking, she pulled out the bomb pin and threw the bomb in her hand towards the crowd in front of them. Much to their surprise, The bomb exploded. A person said loudly. It was pumping smoke. Then Ah Hyung held the gas mask tightly and quickly gave an order to retreat. The guy standing in front of the shield could not help but call in confusion. Team, Chief. She opened her eyes wide in surprise and looked ahead. The people in front of them let 2 lines of water roll down the cheeks but still screamed and rushed forward. A soldier loudly announced that pumping smoke had no effect on them. But as for Dong Chol, it was still a sign. Suddenly they had medicine in their mouths and a command radio in their hands. What an idiot. Their feeling of happiness was overwhelming the pain. Do you think they would really feel pain? I took the medicine back and gave it to them. Mus sang Pi go out through the back door. He calmly stood on the command floor. Below was extremely chaotic. Ah Hyung suddenly realized something had just appeared behind. Her eyes widened in surprise. Suddenly, from behind a special forces soldier who was bending his arms and legs rushed towards. That person jumped high and rushed forward under her surprise. You, who allowed you? His foot stepped on Ah Hyung's head while she was still mumbling in surprise. And that person rushed straight to where Kim Dong-chol was holding the walkie-talkie and directed to command his foot to take advantage of the terrain and jump up and rush forward. Upstairs, he tilted his head blankly and looked at the man approached with hatred in his eyes. Holding a long needle in his hand, he opened his eyes wide in horror. His feet landed on the railing can. His whole body passed by Kim Dong-chol. He cursed blankly. What the hell? The next second he opened his eyes wide and remained motionless. His hand held the walkie-talkie and held it out in front of him. Gyeong-soo held the weapon in his hand, tilted his head and said coldly, I already despise you. Unlike the leaders, the subordinates are required to undergo martial arts training. Kim Dong-chol glared at him with difficulty. I wonder, what? Suddenly someone shouted in pain below. He was surprised, looked down. At this time the task force was attacked by addicts. Lost the initiative. Ah Hyung loudly ordered, just kick them back, and push. She opened her eyes in horror and helplessness, but still tried to struggle and ordered. And sounds continued to echo below. Growling, Kim Dong-chol turned around and looked down, his voice full of pity. They really thought they could repel them with force. Suddenly Gyeong-soo coldly called out, Hey Dong-chol. He gritted his teeth and frowned. Asked again, what? Suddenly his eyes widened in horror at the actions of the person in front of him. He rushed forward and slashed a 10 to his surprise. Towards Ah Hyung, she worriedly looked upstairs. Dong-chol groaned in pain. Blood kept pouring out. He grabbed the back of his neck, then pressed him against the wall and asked uncomfortably, Why are you looking away? I look so weak. It's not a fatal wound, so don't worry. I was begged not to kill anyone, if possible, so. Immediately his hand thrust the knife forward. His eyes stared at his arm. Then he stabbed deeply into his arm. Dong-chol screamed in horror and pain. His eyes widened in disbelief. Blood splattered. The lines became clearer and clearer. He frowned angrily and ordered, I won't kill you. Stay here, right here next to the wall. Dong-chol trembled in pain, gritted his teeth and growled. He watched him turn around and leave and whispered, Who are you? Gyeong-soo took off his gas mask and answered as he walked. Who knew? Someone swung his leg and kicked someone in the back. Ah Hyung frowned and looked at the guy who fell in front of her and said excitedly, We did it. The leader walked forward and gave orders. We will go upstairs. Also wanted to know the answer to the question there. Inside the building, Gyeong-soo leisurely walked over the corpses of the guys wearing chicken hats. He squinted his eyes and sarcastically said, Oh Phoenix, come out here. The chicken-headed subordinates were lying on the ground, including those in plain clothes who shared the same fate. Gyeong-soo said in a dangerous voice, Let's see. At this time Ah Hyung and his teammates pointed their guns upstairs and loudly ordered, Step down, surrender, and you will receive leniency. Dong-chol said calmly, There are so many police officers here. I have never seen this many since I was in the special task force. She asked confused, You mean? He bowed his head and smiled wickedly, pulled something out of his pocket and said, Nice to meet you, Junior. Ah Hyung widened her eyes in surprise. He smiled evilly, pointed the gun at her and said, I'm Dong-chol from class 29. What class are you in? Immediately she frowned loudly and commanded, Shot. Fired. A series of bullets shot to the upper floor. At the same time outside, A group of special forces was looking inside the dark door waiting. Hee-jun standing on the left said impatiently, "Is it okay? I just heard the gunshots." Seong-hyun answered honestly, "Gyeong-soo told us to wait here so we stayed." Gyeong-hee stood in the middle even though her lips were frowning and said, "I don't like this. Why did they make us follow? Leaving us standing outside like this? They just took us to have enough troops. So why do we have to go through secret training?" Hee-jun replied, "You're right. Right now under the three of you were alert. Behind you there was someone approaching." The other person approached, hands in his pockets, listening to Gyeong-hee frowning and venting his anger. "We've been through too much." Sang-mook frowned dissatisfiedly and looked at the three people, as if realizing that the light had suddenly darkened. They raised their heads and looked up in surprise. He asked annoyed, "What are you guys doing here?" The three of you were scared, turned around and looked behind. "Ah." He frowned and scolded angrily. "Those damn cops." Immediately the three of them ran away into the forest. Gyeong-hee ran in the middle with her eyes wide open in fear, said in fear, "Dead." Sang-mook didn't know when she blocked from the front. Her arm quickly pulled out the electric gun and shot at him. He calmly raised his hand to catch the two needles. A moment later, Sang-mook clenched his fists and rushed forward. His face was filled with anger as he stared at the Special Forces team. Gyeong-hee gasped in amazement. He said contemptuously, "It was a bit painful." They gasped and were even more frightened by the strength of the tall man in front of them. Sang-mook extended his hand forward, his face frowning and hesitating. "Well, it's not as strong as the Phoenix's endurance. Right in front of you, a weapon, a gun, appears. Korean people have strict laws about guns. And guns are a topic very sensitive in this country. The police are no exception. Cases where the police open fire can only be seen once a year. And the police are trained to use non-fatal weapons like electric guns or rubber bullets." At this time, Ah-hyung's side also encountered a lot of trouble when Dong-chol calmly held the candy in his mouth and confidently said, "Just use as much as you want. Sure, what can you do with these rubber bullets?" The Special Forces team raised their guns and shot upstairs. A person standing in front frowned and asked, "What the hell is that table made of?" Ah-hyung stood behind and said, "It won't work. We will switch to using real bullets." They immediately replied, "Ordered." Then she raised her voice to remind, "Mr. Dong-chol, I am Ah-hyung, a 30th grade student by KNP-SU. Next time the bullets will be real bullets. Stop resisting and surrender. You need to have your wound treated or you will die." Dong-chol hid behind the table and calmly affirmed, "I would rather die better yet. I will rot in prison for the rest of my life. And I won't be able to take any more medicine." "Right." Ah-hyung gritted her teeth in anger, but there was nothing she could do about him. Then you loudly asked, "Do you really choose medicine over life?" He calmly recounted, "When I was still active in KNP-SU, after obtaining the medicine during a mission, my life was turned upside down. Wah. I searched the area to find the best quality medicine and used my powers to my advantage. But then my body started to resist the medicine. Gradually there was no more medicine left. Nothing can satisfy me anymore." But her. When Dong-chol helplessly leaned his back against the trash can, someone suddenly approached and called out, "Are you Dong-chol?" Lovely Phoenix appeared holding a candy in her hand, accompanied by two other people looking majestically at him. She stuck out her tongue and licked the candy and asked with interest, "I heard your body has become resistant to the medicine, right?" Then her hand I held out the candy to him and said, "Here, this candy is made from the purest stuff out there. Do you want to try one?" She still held out the candy in one hand, with the other hand pushing her hair behind her ear. She had a bewitching smile on her face, slowly seducing his prey. As expected, Dong-chol stuck out his tongue and licked a little. His eyes suddenly widened. His hand held the candy tightly. His mouth opened wide in surprise, as if drowning in too much excitement. He shouted with joy in his heart, "Eureka!" It was like an electric shock. At that time he was holding candy in his hand. His mouth was laughing like an addict. His whole body could not stop. Trembling, she crossed her arms and smiled with satisfaction and asked, "Is it delicious? If you work under me, I will give you much better things than that." Dong-chol smiled happily and replied, "I will do everything." She smiled and praised, "Very good. However, promise you won't eat more than one a day. You'll get sick if you do that." Spin about reality. Dong-chol leaned against the table and mumbled, If I have to die anyway, there's no need to keep that promise. Damn, I've lost so much blood. Who could that be? Sad actually. After saying that, he took out 5 narcotic candies from the hem of his shirt. Dong Chol, like he was crazy, put all 5 plants in the bamboo shoot and bit them until they broke. I said, don't eat these things. It will cause me too much pain. More painful than death. Below, Hyung loaded the magazine into the gun and gave the command. Real bullets. Ready to fire. We will shoot down the guy. Before she could finish her sentence, suddenly her eyes widened in surprise. A gun was also pointed down at the Special Forces team from upstairs. Then his finger pulled the trigger. Dong Chol tilted his head and shot towards the closed door. The bullet was thrown back and flew downstairs. Immediately Hyung quickly bent down to dodge. She frowned and thought, this bullet. Then he stood up, smiled and said, Juniors, why are you standing still? You guys have to make a grand ceremony for your seniors. And then he pulled the trigger again. The bullet from the gun's head flew out. In another scene, deep in the tunnel, Gyeong-soo was avoiding a bullet flying at lightning speed. He dodged all the bullets, flew over, and the chicken-headed subordinates held guns and shot them forward, scolding, the son of a bitch. He quickly grabbed one guy's wrist, making the gun point at the ceiling. The rest did the same. Similarly, his hand knocked the gun away. Immediately he caught the gun. Then he decisively shot straight into the thigh of the chicken head. Then he shot them down one by one. They were screaming, cried out in pain. He conveniently stuffed the gun barrel into a guy's mouth. He frowned and the guy's face went blank. Now in a room, Sang-Pi stood waiting for the door in front of him. Gyeong-soo leisurely walked past several unconscious doormen. His hands grabbed and pulled the door to both sides. The door opened wide. The two people were face to face. Sang-Pi asked contemptuously, I wondered who was making such a fuss. It turned out to be you. I heard about you from the Phoenix. I was planning to visit myself. But it seems you came here by yourself. After finishing speaking, she slowly stood up, while Gyeong-soo closed the door and arrogantly asked, Did you receive my gift card? First generation Phoenix. Her eyes widened amazing. The corner of her mouth twitched as if she was about to say something. Then Sang-Pi frowned and said, Who the hell are you? Gyeong-soo raised his lips and smiled smugly and said, How many times have I heard this sentence? Once. Anyway, I'm not tired of hearing that. Let me remind you of old memories. About Hyung, she was in a state of extreme tension right now. She commanded everything. The person fired hundreds of shots. The bullets rushed towards him. The wall could not withstand the pressure from the bullets but was penetrated by the bullets. The bullets gradually pinned him. He was behind the wall. She commanded him to keep firing at him. Don't stop. Then suddenly her eyes opened wide. She didn't expect that he would stand on the floor through the table down below where they were standing. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. They were startled by this sudden attack. The table flew and hit their shield hard. The collision between the shield and the table caused a few people around to be thrown away. Hyung shook her body slightly, raised it down towards him and spoke. He was probably dead like that. Suddenly he jumped from the floor, landing in front of the panicked policemen with corpses surrounding him. He held a knife and rushed at the police before they could react. They threw up their shields to block his attack. Damn! A sharp blade was swung by him. A policeman was stabbed directly in the area below his chin due to his surprise. Her teammates next to her. She rolled her eyes as her teammates fell before her eyes. While Dong Chol held the gun and looked at everyone with his face covered in blood and bloodshot eyes. You shouldn't have put up your shield. Without thinking carefully, Junior, you think I can't do anything anymore because I'm dying, right? With a smile on his face that shouldn't be there, he jumped on the policemen who were blocking him. His way, to get closer to her who was standing behind them with her eyes wide open. The KNP soldiers Soo couldn't react in time and cursed loudly. Damn! Hyung felt like he was dead on the spot. At this moment he was standing in front of her eyes. The hand holding the gun pointed at her and smiled and said, Now with this close distance, you will hit your teammates if you open fire, right? Those hands holding the gun are still pointing at her. Her eyes returned to a serious look. Before his surprised eyes, she swung her leg and kicked him hard in the middle. That kick sent him flying away, some distance from her position. His face showed pain. She angrily held the gun and rushed towards him as he fell. And then she fired a few more shots straight into him before he could even touch the ground. A painful fall in front of everyone. He plummeted to the ground. She shouted loudly to her teammate behind her, checking the situation. His immediate condition was like the person next to him chokingly said. He had already sacrificed. They stood in front of the cold corpse of their teammate and couldn't help but feel the sadness. She was shocked by that scene. Damn it, suddenly a voice rang out. Me. That familiar voice made her turn around. Unexpectedly, he still stood up after being shot hundreds of times. He gave a twisted smile and said, I'm not dead yet, with a triumphant look on his face. He released a smoke bomb. At her side, she looked in the direction of his throw. A smoke bomb, right when she loudly warned. Everyone dispersed. A loud explosion also rang out. Smoke and dust. The smoke from the bomb made everyone confused by the situation happening. But their eyes still tried to open wide to see through the thick smoke. One of them spoke. I didn't see anything. As soon as she finished speaking, a gunshot stuck in the middle of that teammate. In the surprised eyes of everyone, her teammates started screaming. What was that? What direction was he shooting from? She lay down and thought to herself about her teammates' behavior when everything was in chaos. If those idiots just keep shouting like that. His voice rang out again. So pathetic. Panicked because his comrades had died. Time passed, equipped with improved technology, but the quality of users kept decreasing. You guys don't have enough. No, you guys don't have any experience. Please consider this as a lesson for my juniors. Although the price to pay for this lesson will be your lives. Cold-blooded shots continue to be fired from behind the classes. Smoke along with his incessant voice. They were so scared that they couldn't speak and trembling covered their whole bodies. A shadow appeared behind the thick layer of smoke and someone recognized out. That teammate shouted very loudly and opened fire towards that shadow. Those eyes widened in fear. Another person trembled and turned around asking, Where did you shoot? Huh? In this blinding smoke. Hearing the gunshots, the cries of my teammates and they slowly lying down then. In the smoke, those thoughts still don't stop. Where are they? Where the hell did I shoot from? The sound of gunshots continued to ring out. And the blood grew more and more from there. Where was he? Would I? Her hands touched the gun. Would I die here? Eyes and actions filled with extreme fear. Kim Hyung was afraid of death. Suddenly she was startled to discover. A shadow appeared in the smoke. Her thoughts were so chaotic. Who was there? Was it a teammate or an enemy? When she saw the barrel of a gun pointed at her, her eyes widened again in that moment. Oh, she opened her eyes wide looking at the image in front of her. He sat in a corner and the gun was still facing forward. Facing the scene before her eyes, she didn't know what was real. Looking at the other person lying motionless, she wondered, is he dead then? Why? She carefully stood up. The smoke was gradually dissipating. The torment of death seemed to be gradually disappearing. Reality became something you had to face. At this time, her teammates' bodies were scattered on the ground, along with Kim Dong-chol's body in a corner. She looked at each corpse of her comrades and was choked up. What were her emotions now? Tears had begun to fall on her face that no longer had a drop of blood left. No, not panic. Feeling fear and despair appearing at the same time for the first time in her life. Kim Hyung could only let out painful sobs. Until now she still could not accept the cruel reality. Her mouth was also uncontrollable and continued to mutter helplessly. No. When despair was filling her, suddenly a scream rang out. She trembled and looked towards the source. That sound. A body was rushing towards her. There was a loud scream. There was no effect. In front of that muscular body with an angry face were her 3 teammates running away. Shouted in panic. Nothing could hurt him. Sang Mook angrily cursed them. You all ran away like cowardly dogs. Gyong-hee ran away crying and screaming loudly. What the hell is this secret training? Nothing has any effect on him. That bastard Kim Gyong-soo. Bai Guang's training for slaves was very simple. He taught him all about the important organs of the human body. With blunt weapons, he taught him to aim for the solar plexus, the back of the head, the groin and the joints. With sharp-edged weapons, he directed him to aim at the place where many arteries flow through. Gyong-soo sat on Gyong-hee and tell everyone lying on the ground panting from fatigue. If you face enemies during the mission, depending on the weapons you are holding, attack the positions I have mentioned. Tell me, Gyong-hee cried out. My jaw hurts. looking at the two people lying on the ground moaning. He continued, most of them will be taken down. He still sat on Gyeong-hee. He continued, oh, and of course, there will be an exception. Back to the present. It seems they have encountered the exception that Gyeong-soo said. Sang-mook with a surprised and angry expression looked at the 3 iron mallets that were pointed at me. The 3 of them stood motionless before this situation. Sang-mook turned his annoyed eyes towards those 3 little people and said, I really like it. And now, suddenly there was another loud scream. Sang-mook was still chasing them. Stop. Gyeong-hee ran towards Ah-hyung shouting, Commander, help us. As she spoke her eyes were wet with tears. Suddenly she stopped. The 3 of them were standing in front of a pile of dead bodies lying on the street and screaming. What the hell? What the hell? Gyeong-hee was about to say, this is. Seong-hyun next to him covered his mouth to muffle his own voice. Gyeong-hee didn't understand why he did that and asked, what's wrong with you? He covered his mouth with one hand and pointed forward. In front of us. The scene before them was indescribable. They were shocked to see Ah-hyung sitting among the corpses of her comrades who were with her. They became more panicked. Were they dead? Sang-mook stood behind those panicked faces were a few words. Oh, not bad. Dong-chol, you did a good job cleaning up. It seems he discovered something. Huh, that was Dong-chol's body still holding the gun in a corner. His happy face suddenly turned into surprise. With this image, Sang-mook stood still for a moment and called out the name of his ally. Dong-chol. Moving to Gyeong-soo, he seriously asked Sang-pi where is the former Phoenix? Where is the current Phoenix hiding? The two stood facing each other. She asked him. I said, who are you? He replied, guess what? Things like this. You're not a slow-witted bitch or anything. So, you should know already. Sang-pi smiled sinisterly looking at you. I'm not sure. I can only guess that you're an interesting person. Say interesting things. That's all. If we had met under different circumstances, I would have invited you to drink tea and then chat. As she spoke, she put her hand into her chest, intending to take out something. As soon as she pulled that thing out, a fist was suddenly swung in front of her eyes. His face calmly said, drug-making whores like you. Then a painful punch hit her in the face. He punched her until blood rang out. In surprise, before she could react, he sternly exposed her dirty tricks, pretended to talk and then secretly applied the enhancement patch to her body. She was stunned after that powerful punch, used his hand to wipe the blood and coughed out. Not letting her react, he continued to kick again and said, I should have just attacked. While you were wasting your time sticking to that patch on her body. He said as he kicked straight at her hands holding the enhancement patch. She screamed in pain. Then she gritted her teeth. A pill came out of her mouth. After grinding his teeth just now, a hand quickly rushed to stop her from biting the pill. He squeezed Sang-pi's mouth in her shocked reaction and said, this game is too easy to guess. Isn't brushing your teeth every day with a pill in your mouth uncomfortable? He said as he took the pill out of her mouth. Of course Sang-pi couldn't do anything. He could only scream. Suddenly she changed her attitude, counter-attacking him before he could attack again. She tried her best to lock the hand that was squeezing her mouth. But he didn't worry but instead criticized her. An arm lock from an addict without medication. Then he threw her hard on the table and held her neck tightly and continued. You think does it work? Now, tell me where that damn bird is. Is there any good in protecting that cowardly bitch? That one who hides her face and hides her nose while her subordinates are being chased. Hearing that, Sang-pi replied angrily, the Phoenix is not a coward. He laughed loudly and said, it's just an addict, right? If you don't tell me her location. While questioning her, something suddenly hit his back. He immediately turned around to look warily. Suddenly his eyes widened. Behind him were 3 children looking at him with an angry attitude. One child shouted, one person bad. He had a hard time understanding those words. What? Sang-pi said to the kids. You guys, you're late. If you heard any noise outside, I told you to come in here right away but. A child rushed at him with a knife. With a screaming voice. Don't touch. Ms. Sang-pi she rushed at him very quickly but he just had to stand up and avoid it easily. He punched her in the back of the head. Immediately after that she fell down in front of her. After his attack, the 2 remaining children, after seeing that scene, also held the knife rushed at him and shouted loudly. But like the other girl, He continued to dodge the attack and attack the back of the two boys' heads. Before they could understand anything, the two children fell in front of her. Once again, he stood still looking at the scene before him, but Sang-P raised his voice again. "Oh my God, what are you going to do now?" At this time she covered her body with enhancement donuts and smiled and said to him, "The addict has already been drugged." Looking at the children lying on the ground, he said angrily, "That Phoenix bitch gave you the right to abuse children," in his eyes too clear from anger when he looked towards her. She still answered indifferently as if she didn't know anything. "Who knows?" He looked at the knife underneath and said, "If that's the case, it probably won't work." Saying that, he stepped on the handle of the knife. Following the force of his pedaling, the knife flew up. He grabbed the knife in front of his eyes. Sang-P's disgusting face was still smiling and looking at him. He exclaimed, "You will die right now." My attitude has become more scary. Going back 10 years ago, when the first Phoenix was still in power, she sat silently high above, observing the new Bai Guang slaughtering the old one. The monk approached her and asked, "What do you think?" That child, the new Bai Guang. Bai Guang at that time was new as a minor, but her eyes radiate extremely murderous intent. She replied to the monk, "I'm not sure anymore. It seems to be stronger than the previous generation Bai Guang, but it seems that he didn't dare to kill him. That name Bai Guang is very mysterious." The monk countered, "I was wrong. Well, with my drug-addicted head, I couldn't see it. Where's everything? It could easily finish him off. It just wouldn't do that." The Phoenix suddenly asked again, "Meaning you're saying it was just toying with its prey? Why? With a person that was ranked as a UA before?" The monk began to recount. When he first came here, all the other children were killed by former Bai Guang. All except for it. Look back to see if you can feel it. There are countless of them. Wound. That child did. Isn't it so beautiful? Just like willow leaves. Who could be more suitable for Bai Guang's position than this child? After remembering everything, the former Phoenix understood. So that's it, she said to herself. I understand. This guy is definitely Mr. Bai Guang. After when he was knocked out by Gyeong-su, the former Phoenix lay panting on the floor. Gyeong-su approached and coldly stepped on her chest. He asked, "I'll ask you again one last time. Where is the Phoenix hiding?" Former Phoenix. The Phoenix asked again, "You will kill me even if I confess, right?" Gyeong-su without any concealment admitted, "Yes, but I will give you the gentlest death." She replied, dying. The Phoenix is first-gen Phoenix, currently known as Sang-P, after leaving the position of November's Paulonia. The monk let the new Phoenix decide her fate. When the old moon was replaced with the new moon, a succession ceremony will be performed and will complete the death of the previous generation. However, the new Phoenix does not feel the need to kill the old Phoenix. But she, back when the second Phoenix first took office, she interrogated the first Phoenix. Why did poison me with this? She already knew that the glass of wine in her hand contained Phoenix poison. Hoang continued to ask, "Do you know how much poison I've drunk? Do you really think I won't notice? I let you live, but you want to kill me. Why? Don't you like me?" The former Phoenix replied calmly, "There's no way I like you." Hearing that, the Phoenix trembled and asked, "Why? Why does everyone hate me so much?" That's right, now she was crying and looked so pitiful. They tried to kill me because I was weak, but I tried to cling to life. And now I have become a moon. But now they hate me. Me because I used drugs. But you, of all people, shouldn't hate me. You've been through the same things as me. Okay, let's make a deal. If I take drugs, hey, you'll have to like me. Her words made the former Phoenix extremely surprised. She continued to ask, "Is that okay?" I drank it all. From two holes her eyes were no longer tears but instead were two long streams of blood. The Phoenix trembled and said, "I did very well, right? You will like me from now on, won't you? Answer me." When she, a person who lived extremely selfishly to be able to live, saw the Phoenix burst into tears in her arms. For the first time in her life, she knew love. Return to the present. The former Phoenix tremblingly replied, "Gyeong-su. Why? But I have to take the risk. Sending the person I love to the point of death." Gyeong-su didn't care and just coldly replied, "So that's your final answer? Then die." After finishing speaking, he gave her a fatal kick, and then left in frustration. "Now I have to go ask some other bastards before I could take a few steps." She, the girl behind her, spoke tremblingly. The phoenix will return here, and the children, they are my doing, so please don't kill the phoenix. Mr. Bai Guang. Yong-soo hesitated for a moment and looked at her, then replied, okay. At the same time the phoenix returned. Her body was full of drug stickers. She flew like crazy about the base. On this side, Yong-soo continued whispering, it will depend on what that bitch will do. Sang-mook shouted, Dong Chol. Yong-hee also called out, Captain. He shook his body, continued calling, Dong Chol, and she nervously told Ah-hyung, Captain, calm down, then slap her, and tell her two teammates. Hey you two, try turning her off. Suddenly there was a voice calling her name. Yong-hee. She turned her head and glared. Looked at. Sang-mook stuck the drug cards on him and called frantically, Dong Chol, then rushed straight towards them. Yong-hee cried out in fear. Stop him. He threw a punch, with both hands straight into the stomachs of two policemen, and then knocked many more people down. Yong-hee was scared and called out, hey. Sang-mook's voice was murderous. Gas. I will tear. Every limb comes out. His hand immediately rushed towards the two of them. Blood splattered. He glared. His arm was slashed 2 marks. Blood gushing out. A familiar police figure stood behind. Yong-hee gasped and called, Yong-soo. You held the knife tightly in your hand and told him, you can't do that, not when I'm here. This guy's body can still use. The voice to report, it's like I gave him a fatal wound. Yong-soo glanced at the police littering everywhere, but you guys were still all shot down. I guess I overestimated. Sang-mook rushed forward and punched him. Yong-soo smiled and exclaimed, shit, that must have hurt a lot. His hand punched straight into the carrying in pain without stopping. I called Dad police. Hey, it's your dad, they mumbled in response. Yes. Yong-soo orders, take care of the children. Then you pick up the gun. I will. Take care of things here. Suddenly he glared. Sang-mook raised their bodies provocatively. Hurry up, shoot your dad. Your dad has a shield. Yong-soo calmly honked. Sure. The bullet went through the woman, tearing Sang-mook's shoulder. He held the wound in pain. His shield is gone. Yong-soo reassured. Calm down, I won't kill you. The others are all fucking dead. So at least you're still alive. Sang-mook panicked. What? You son of a bitch too. He immediately shouted. However, he was hit twice in the thigh. He collapsed. Yong-soo ordered, please report to headquarters that we are returning. The subordinate replied, yes. He looked at the people around him and thought, I thought this was very simple. It turns out I was wrong. I was wrong, misjudged the situation. I had a little hope for them, but I had even higher expectations for her. She was completely devastated. She really is much superior to the 3 of them. So I must have overestimated her abilities. Yong-hee fearfully pointed at Sang-mook. Hey Yong-soo, can you stop him? He said boredly. The 3 of you should retreat. Suddenly a noise caught his attention. A car flew high. The person wearing a hat was a woman. The motorbike landed on the ground. Through the police back. Yong-soo aimed to shoot. But she turned the rear wheel and hit the policeman in the face. Then she quickly ran away. The road was swinging. Dodge bullets. Sang-mook called out suspiciously. Oh, she took off her helmet. He immediately recognized her, the Phoenix girl. The 3 policemen below him panicked. It was Crazy Girl from the last incident. Yong-soo. Shitnik's orders. Sang-mook. Gather the others and follow me now. Finding an escape route will take a lot more time than I thought. If I get caught, reprimand and die. I'd rather. Sang-mook interrupted. Phoenix girl. Everyone except me is dead. Her expression became tense. What? Another voice spoke up. Like he said, they're all dead. Their subordinates were lying in a pool of blood. Shitnix went crazy and turned the throttle. Raised his hand behind. Said with a hateful face, I will tear you apart with my own hands. Yong-soo challenged. Oh my god, I'm so scared. Remember that day when it was pouring rain? When but Bai Guang is still a child. A little girl ran to happily call. Mr. Bai Guang was the second phoenix when he was young. The little girl asked with concern. I heard you was scolded for not listening to the Buddha, right? Are you okay? Bai Guang didn't answer but asked her again. What about you? The little girl's hands are full of scratches but they're still fresh. Smiled and replied, I'm fine. It's my fault for being so weak. Lord Buddha said that you will be the one in charge of evaluating us starting next month. I'm relieved that you'll be in charge now. I'm so jealous of you. You were promoted to Yue and were given the cool name Bai Guangmi. Do you think I will also be named in the future? Bai Guang just coldly replied. It's a distant dream. The girl still innocently continued. You wouldn't know, right? I heard that the relationships between the Yues are horrible. If I ever manage to become one of the Yues, you will still be friends with me. Right? Promise me. The relationship between you two used to be so good. But now, you two are during an extremely tense confrontation. The mini smoke bomb that the Phoenix threw accidentally touched Gyeong-soo's hand. It immediately exploded. Bai Guang quickly put on his mask and silently calculated. This is a cigarette smoke bomb. It's not explosive, but it significantly limited his vision. My hands are still numb, but I can still move. Before I could finish the sentence, the Phoenix was already riding towards me, trying to bulldoze him away. Luckily, Gyeong-soo was able to move aside and get out of her way. The Phoenix immediately braked the car, then frowned and said loudly, "How long are you planning to hide?" Her red eyes followed Gyeong-soo. He quickly ran from the cloud of cigarette smoke up the stairs. The Phoenix immediately followed and shouted, "Do you really think I can't chasing you up the stairs?" Clever Gyeong-soo cleverly led her to another hallway, where the smoke bombs were no longer so foggy. The stupid Phoenix also kept chasing. Suddenly her eyes widened in surprise. Everyone, the subordinates, were all defeated. Gyeong-soo stood tall behind the pile of corpses. He glared at her, challenging her. "Let's try." The Phoenix was immediately angered by him. She quickly drove her junk car past the lying corpses. But as soon as she reached his position, she gritted her teeth in anger. Because Gyeong-soo suddenly disappeared. But where did his voice come from? "You're really good at driving that thing." It turned out to be Gyeong-soo swinging on the ceiling. By the time the Phoenix realized it, it was already too late. He jumped down on her. She was about to grab her neck, and then put his arms around her neck, locking her so she couldn't do anything. The Phoenix was in her position. Pincer groaned in pain, then thought about turning the accelerator to make Gyeong-soo fall out of the car. It seemed he saw through it and asked, "You're trying to throw me off by accelerating." But you weren't wearing a helmet." In the end, both of you fell to the floor. Due to impact, Gyeong-soo slowly stood up while rubbing his hips silently. "I should stop this." On the other side, the Phoenix also crawled up and asked, "You, what the hell is that? If it weren't for you, everything would have gone as planned." "Then I will." Without letting her finish her sentence, Gyeong-soo interrupted, "I don't know when everything started, but at a certain point, you started blaming everyone. Forgive me. You used to follow me and do what I told you when you were young. The person you should blame is not me." The Phoenix shouted angrily, "Don't say such nonsense. I don't understand. Who the hell are you?" Gyeong-soo replied frankly, "Bai Guang. I'm Bai Guang." Hearing that, the Phoenix frowned slightly and made a confused sound. She asked, "Again, what are you talking about?" Gyeong-soo calmly advised, "The Phoenix. Turn yourself in. I was going to kill you, but you're the one in charge of holding the funds, and maybe there's still one left. As for the remaining transaction information, I also have an order to arrest you alive. Tell us everything you've had to go through because of that bastard monk. And give us the evidence related to him. If you do that, I'll let you live." The Phoenix only smiled faintly after hearing that. Then she burst out laughing and said, "Does Mr. Bai Guang have a secret student? A police bastard?" Gyeong-soo still calmly continued to answer her. "You should be the only one who knows that I don't have a student. You did a shit ton of your secret investigation on me when you became a Yue, didn't you?" At that time, the Phoenix was speechless. Gyeong-soo continued, "Do you really think I don't realize that there is someone following me every time I do a mission?" The Phoenix became more and more confused, staring wide-eyed. Gyeong-soo looked straight at her and said, "There are only two people in Hwagiksa who hate that old teacher. Me and you. Why are you like this?" Listen to her clenched his teeth in anger. Then shouted, "Shut up, shut up. Bai Guang is dead. Buddha even showed me his body and said, I will be the one next if I don't follow orders." Gyeong-soo said softly, "I know it's hard to believe." The Phoenix interrupted, "And it seems Bai Guang didn't tell his students about this." This sentence of hers made Gyeong-soo briefly remember the past. when the phoenix was still an innocent little girl. I heard that the relationship between the Yues was very bad. The phoenix grumbled, raised her voice and said, I hate when that little girl once asked me if I became a Yue. And now she's aiming at me and saying, Bai Guang is better than Buddha. The cheerful girl then asked, You will still be my friend, right? Promise me. The phoenix rushed towards Gyeong-su like a crazy person. Gyeong-su was not afraid at all, frightened. She prepared to attack. As she approached him, she raised her hand to grab him, but he used one foot to kick straight into her stomach, his foot hitting a pile of drug smoke bombs. The bomb immediately exploded, causing smoke to spread throughout the hallway. Gyeong-su stared wide-eyed at the scene before him. And the phoenix really enjoys inhaling it. It's really refreshing. It's so good. Medicine. Medicine is the best. She seemed to be empowered to kick back at Gyeong-su. The phoenix thought to himself, even if I have a headache, or a stomach ache, or even an injury, drugs can dispel everything, even when I'm in the worst situation or feeling unwell. Medicine. The more she thought about it, the more enthusiastic she became. The phoenix punched Gyeong-su straight in the face. The medicine would solve all problems. Smoke and dust flew throughout the hallway. After punching him down, she tilted her head back to enjoy it. It was so high, so high, so high, so high, but the next second she lost all strength lying down, rolling on the ground and groaning. It feels really refreshing. If you use medicine as a therapeutic food, you will gradually get better and be healed. But medicine or drugs only make you have an illusion of happiness. Just things that are happening in reality. Seeing that Gyeong-su was still awake, the phoenix suddenly glanced at him, then wondered, how come? Can you still stand? In reality, medicine cannot change everything. The phoenix began to feel pain all over her body. Medicine only made things worse. She held her head and screamed, Ah, it hurts. Immediately cursed himself. Damn it, why? I have the upper hand, but no, there's no way it's going to turn out like this. I need more medicine. Suddenly Gyeong-su spoke up. The phoenix. It's embarrassing. Give it up. Hearing these words from him made her stop and ask herself, I'm shameful tiger. What's wrong with me? Pride arose and the phoenix screamed again. What the hell do you know? Then pulled out a bunch of more cards. Gyeong-su calmly replied to her, I understand very well everything. Understanding better than anyone else. After finishing speaking, he snatched the card from her hand and threw it away. Seeing that, the phoenix screamed and groaned. My medicine, my medicine. She tried to salvage all the flying medicine. Floating in the air, Gyeong-su nonchalantly said, You should give up, and turn yourself in, at the same time giving her a smack in the middle of the head. Also, stop showing that embarrassed face. Not long after the smoke in the hallway cleared, the phoenix sat on the ground moaning. It hurts so much. Give me the medicine. Give it to me. Gyeong-su bet. If you promise to surrender, I will give you a dose of. The weak phoenix replied, Then it's better to kill me. I fear being scolded by the Buddha more than death. Then Gyeong-su just slowly recounting. Sang-pi asked me a favor. She begged me not to kill you. The phoenix twisted. But if you were really Mr. Bai Guang, you wouldn't have killed him. Sang-pi's sister. You were able to get enough information from her. Gyeong-su explained. Sang-pi abused children, and judging by your reaction you didn't know that. I'm relieved. Now do you understand why I killed her? The frail phoenix said despondently. You just act as if you were Mr. Bai Guang. Gyeong-su stood up and continued clearly. If that was because you're afraid of that damn bald guy. Don't worry, because I will kill him. Hearing this sentence, the phoenix froze for a moment. Then she burst out laughing and said, You will kill the Buddha. Ha ha ha. Bai Guang, even he was killed by the Buddha. Do you really believe that you can kill him? Gyeong-su still calmly answered her. My previous body had been injured and disabled. Through the years of harsh training and beatings I had suffered since I was a child. It was a shortcut to become strong, but our bodies are cumulative and wounds will always remain. And then came the mission that put the final nail in the coffin of my broken body. Is the mission to wipe out the church's truth organization. I was seriously injured after that incident. You know that, right? But this body that I just got, it's completely different full. It has been trained with diligence, so that I can rush into battle anytime I need to. And it shows no signs of being abused since childhood, meaning this body is in excellent shape. Should I say that it's as new as if it had just been unsealed? At this point, he suddenly stopped and thought. Luckily I'm lucky. If I could have her body. Gyeong-hee in my mind. His image argued back. What about my body? Gyeong-soo helplessly told himself. Just imagining it already makes me feel miserable. Then he continued. If only I could get used to this body. And if you continue to practice. That bastard teacher. I can kill him. The phoenix stiffened and listened to him from beginning to end without any resistance. After a while she spoke up. Korn, you, no, are you really? Bai Guang. Gyeong-soo coldly replied. It's me, now choose. Turn yourself in. Or die here, right away right here, right now. The phoenix became even weaker. You. She seemed to have found some warmth and love in this person in front of her. At the same time outside. Hee-jun worriedly asked if Gyeong-soo would be okay. Gyeong-hee firmly replied. He would be fine. Go call everyone and get out of here. Help will be here within 30 minutes then. Suddenly Seong-hyun spoke again. Gyeong-hee. Should we give him a bandage? He lost a lot of blood. Sang-mook heard that and frowned threateningly. If you dare to touch me, I will kill you. Gyeong-hee was not afraid and teased. Then I will touch you with my finger. Sang-mook glanced at her slightly in moment. Then spoke up and ordered. Hey, take the stickers from this shirt pocket and stick them all over my body. Gyeong-hee suddenly let out a soft sigh. And then she wondered, what's going on? The other guy shouted, just do it, hurry up. Gyeong-hee replied bewilderedly, that's drugs. You're really an addict. Why should I give drugs to addicts? At this moment, a voice rang out from outside the door. That's right. The silhouettes of two large people appeared under the door light. One guy continued to talk. Drugs are for. The name Sang-mook saw the other two and immediately trembled in fear. Muscular thighs like buffalo thighs approached him. The other two said in unison, scum. At this time, they were still surprised after the sudden appearance of the other two people. Gyeong-hee stared at the two of them and asked, who are they? Sang-mook next to him did not answer but just remained silent. Trembling, it seemed like he was very scared. Right after that an angry voice rang out. Sang-mook, 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 what's wrong with you? Huh, his arms were as stiff as your steel is all soft. I sent you here, to kill a drug-addicted bitch. Facing the anger of Lespedeza brothers. His body trembled again and again. He remembered when he was on duty. A woman's voice gently said, oh, you are the one who is support Black Lespedezas. Right, you came to kill me. His eyes were fixed on the phoenix's delicate face. She slowly approached him and gracefully flipped her hair back and said, I have something much more interesting than killing me. Do you want to take a dose with me? She said, then opened her hand in front of him. In her hand was the medicine. To return to the present. Black Lespedezas still kept asking. Following that girl is like that. Now look at you. I warned you about women. But suddenly his brother spoke up. Honey, there's nothing wrong with women. What's wrong is that she's addicted to drugs. Black Lespedezas countered. There you go again, Hyung. What do you mean? There's nothing wrong with women. Are women trash? Can't train the upper body. Lespedezas still defends. But they are on a different level when focusing on the leg muscle group. Right. At this time Sang-mook bowed back and said, Lespedeza brothers, why did you come here in 2 days? Black Lespedezas calmly replied, what an obvious question. We're here to kill that bitch. Where is he? The ceiling of the building is quiet. Only Gyeong-soo's steady footsteps echo. And the phoenix is lying on his broad back. You seemed very tired. Then she softly spoke. You carrying me like this makes me miss the old days so much. He advised with a serious face. Talk less. Save your mouth for the confession. But the phoenix continued speaking. Do you remember the first time we met? When we first met, for a moment you became silent. They reminisced about childhood. When you were practicing, the monk called. Bye. He brought a little girl. Then he smiled and continued. This child has passed the entrance. From now on you two will stay in a unit. Let's teach her a few basic things during that time. The girl was still trembling in his big hand. He just looked without speaking, nor asking anything else. While practicing, Shitnix's stick fell hard on the ground. She weakly looked up at him. Couldn't help but wonder, so he asked. Hey, how could you complete the task? First entrance ceremony with such a weak body. She avoided his eyes, hesitated and did not answer. He continued to ask. How could you? Sir, I spoke up. Dead body. You woke up in the middle of a pile of dead bodies. You're the only one still alive. My face didn't change color and I continued asking, don't you have enough skills to overcome it? She immediately got up, tears streaming down her face and begged, I'm sorry, I'll do everything you tell me to do. Please, please, don't tell the Buddha, I haven't yet, I don't want to die. I don't want to die. I don't want to, I honestly can't bear to look at that poor girl like that. Then I knelt down in front of her to comfort her. Get up, I won't tell no one. Shitnik still stammered, really, he replied softly, yes, I won't say. When I pass the input, I promised myself that I will always protect for the lives and safety of my comrades in the future. Then Shitnix whispered, promise. Will you promise me? Then she raised her little finger. Her eyes still filled with tears. He looked at her wonderingly. What is a little finger? Shitnix explained. A promise must be made by sticking the little finger in tightly. My mother once said that. I can promise okay with you. Then his deep voice rang out. I promise. Then one day, the monk's big hand reached out again. He gave a fake smile looking at the girl pitiful in front of. That day it was pouring rain. Two men pressed Shitnix down and forced her to drink a strange drink. She refused to drink and tried to struggle. The rain fell all over him. He just turned his head slightly to look at. Then the cup of water fell down, pouring it straight into Shitnix's mouth. Her eyes widened as tears flowed down her cheeks. In the end she still couldn't avoid becoming regarding reality. The phoenix lay weakly on Gyeong-soo's back, her voice melancholy saying, I know you can't keep that promise. How can you survive in such an environment while protecting I'm okay? I shouldn't blame anyone, but I gradually blame you more and more. Suddenly he spoke up. You are wrong. I've never failed, I promised you everything. Her eyes were bloodshot looking at him. What? His eyes were still steadfast. You still don't know why that day you were the only one alive. She still didn't hear that. No surprise. What are you talking about? At this time, Sang-mook's group still couldn't get out of trouble. His arm was squeezed so hard by Black Lespedasis that he screamed violently. Even though he screamed loudly. So, Black Lespedasis still calmly said, you have become skinny. What a pity. What a pity. Only then did Gyeong-hee regain her composure. She quickly said loudly, stop him. Right after that too they quickly picked up the shields. Then they used the shields to shield them before using all their strength to rush in. Suddenly they stopped. Their faces could not hide their surprise. In front of them, Ho-chi threw a kick. He kicked so hard that the two of them fell down. Not even the shield could protect them. The shield had a big dent. Their whole bodies flew away, back in the surprise of Sang-mook and Gyeong-hee. Then Lespedeza turned around and said, stay here and keep order. We will eliminate the traitor right now. At this time Black Lespedezis is still that murderous aura. I used to love you very much. Sang-mook quickly put his hand in his pocket. Then he took out the medicine. His whole body still kept shaking. Looking at the thing in his hand, his voice he became even colder. Are you going to use medicine in the last moments of your life? You never stop disappointing me. Okay, just put it on yourself. To see the path you have chosen, where will it take you? He didn't care about the other person's joking attitude and simply stuck the drug on his neck and said, the only person I don't want to disappoint is the only phoenix. When the medicine took effect, he used all his strength to swing his fist at. But the little hope that had just sparked in him was extinguished by Black Lespedezis, who just threw a punch at his head. Gyeong-hee was stunned as he looked at the red blood splashing out. He looked ahead and said, the path you have chosen is the one that leads to the landfill. Then he turned to the soldiers. Now it's time to come. It's your turn. But after looking at them for a while, they said, oh, now that I look again, there's quite a few delicious looking bastards. Brother. Then Lespedeza brothers squinted their eyes and smiled with delight. The police team said in unison, what? One of them? Good. But Black Lespedezis interrupted, no, we didn't tell you. Me don't eat women. On the other hand, men, you guys have quite nice bodies. You can't hide them with these tight clothes. Jun panicked. Me. Black Lespedezis pointed at him. He asked, what kind of sport have you been playing? How long have you been doing? Causing Jun to suddenly answer. Boxing more than 10 last year. Gyeong-hee was helpless. Hey, why did you answer him? You really are an idiot. Black Lespedezis clapped his hands. Great. Very excellent. You have an excellent body there. I like it. And you? He pointed at Seong-hyun. But he also startledly replied, yes. Gyeong-hee kept reminding, hey, don't answer him. Why should you? What a waste of words with these crazy people. Black Lespedazes opened her voice disdainfully. Don't interfere, woman. July's Lespedazes stood watching them ponder. Wait a minute. Now look closely then, that's a woman. She has such a great body. Gyeong-hee is hesitant. Me, he continues. You have a solid body. Ah-hyung looks at the ground. Everything got closer and closer. July's Lespedazes rushed forward and grabbed her by the neck. Gyeong-hee kept screaming, let go, damn it. But suddenly there was another person's scream. Gyeong-hee turned around and discovered that Black Lespedazes had defeated Hee-jun. She immediately shouted loudly, Hee-jun. Hee-jun screamed, this guy's strength. Ah-hyung and Hee-jun, Lespedazes brothers all said in unison. Now, they opened their mouths to thank them for the meal. The Phoenix asked, what do you mean? Why were you the only one alive that day? Gyeong-soo carried her on his shoulders and left that place. Her face was covered in blood. Probably because at that time she could resist the poison. Right? Gyeong-soo replied calmly. After becoming your companion and practicing with you, I've realized one thing. No matter how hard you practice, in the end, that old bastard will eliminate you and return to your previous life. Bai Guang sighed. Suddenly there was a voice. Are you worried about that girl? It's a man wearing a black vest, with a long scar on his face. Bai Guang broke the stick and rushed towards him and stabbed him, but he quickly grasped your path. Calm down. Even when you were chosen to succeed my position. Bai Guang held the stick so firmly that he was shaking, trembling. He continued, you are just a child now. Stop holding the stick and let me. I will tell you how to save that girl from death. I knowing about the poisonous herb used to make sayak. Bai Guang gritted his teeth angrily. What? Then he explained further, if she could eat a small amount every day and then gradually increase the dosage, the baby will possess immunity and be able to survive. Bai Guang suddenly opened his eyes and asked, what do you mean? He stared. You are a smart kid. Choose to let you my life at that time was exactly what I wanted, and just like that I was able to have a list of poisonous species used to make medicine, by making a deal with the first generation Bai Guang. Bai Guang held out a bowl of water. Eat this. The girl accepted it warmly. Yay, rice. He picked up the bowl and took a sip. Yes. Why does it taste so bitter? Bai Guang turned away. You must have imagined it. I secretly put it in your food. And then after a few years, you were able to survive. Gyeong-soo still carried the phoenix on his back as he walked and said, then we will meet again this way. The phoenix said tiredly, lying. Gyeong-soo explained further, do you remember the fever and rashes all over your body? No, that's your body creating antibodies. The phoenix quickly scolded him. Why didn't he tell me this story sooner? He was strict. If I told you, then what would happen? If you talk nonsense again when you're high, you and I will both die. And that old guy thinks you have the same innate poison resistance ability as the first generation Phoenix Sang-pi, so he forced you to become a drug addict to turn you into the next generation Phoenix. And I, who secretly planned to escape, without letting Hwagiksa know, had visited over to your place, intending to take you with me. Bai Guang stood there. The Phoenix, wake up. We have to go. The Phoenix is lying tired. Mr. Bai Guang. His eyes were red. Before they discovered that. The Phoenix continued to say, go, but. Suddenly the Phoenix sat up with a seductive body. She said, where are you going? This is the paradise that I have chosen. Serious wrong choice. He realized. Drugs. Just. Her hands up. Stay here. There are better things to do. That is the worst thing that ever existed, and it has changed the way you are. And I regret my choice more and more. As I see you change more and more. I wonder if I should have let you die then. The Phoenix lay still on his shoulder. Why didn't he run away by himself? He shook. Who knows? Suddenly there was a scream. Gyeong-soo curiously wondered who was shouting. The Phoenix shouted loudly. I think it was Sang-mook who did it. We need to quickly tell him. Sang-mook, stop. He carried her and ran quickly. They stopped at the image in front of them. The painful groan was July's Lespedazes biting a policeman's shoulder. Gyeong-hee screamed loudly. Gyeong-soo. Phoenix's face became serious. Lespedazes. Gyeong-soo faltered. No, it's okay. April's Black Lespedeza raised his face and his mouth twitched with blood. Yes. At the same time his brother also acted the same way. There were two brothers. The brother was born with weak upper body, and the younger brother has a weak lower body. Those shortcomings of the two brothers are the weaknesses and wounds they have to endure. That is also the reason why the two children that were abandoned. Those two children were locked in the hunger strike room, where disabled children are sent. They couldn't accept that they would have to die just because they were born with birth defects. And just like that, they swore that they would overcome their fate. They practiced, they killed, they ate, practiced, kill, ate, repeating that process thousands of times, and gradually becoming stronger. Over the months, the two brothers still survived. And through years of hard training, the older brother was able to exercise his naturally weak lower body and gained legs as strong as a boar's. The younger brother with a defective upper body developed broad shoulders just like isn't it a bird's wing. Very wonderful, Lespedeza, very wonderful, Black Lespedezas, Lespedeza brothers wonderful. Both asked in unison, what is that drugged bitch doing? Being carried on the back by a cop. The phoenix suddenly glared in panic, looking at the man lying dead in a pool of blood. She immediately shouted, Choi Sang Mook. Black Lespedezas said gloatingly, I've been waiting for this day for a long time. I felt extremely desperate when people like you kept hanging around me and out. It seems like you're good just because you're a Yue, who always acts arrogant like you're great, even though you've got shitty bodies. Now Bai Guang is dead. If you die, January's crane, March's cherry blossom, August's hollow mountai, only 3 of them will be left. Lespedeza immediately called out, honey, can we spare cherry blossom? She's very beautiful, right? Gyeong-su silently thought, just one Yue is enough trouble. But it had to be the only Yue that comes in pairs. He asked, Gyeong-hee, have you called for help yet? I immediately reported, yes, they will be here within 10 minutes. Gyeong-su thought to himself, in 10 minutes, I can fight on par with those two within 10 minutes. Suddenly his vision became blurry. He clutched his head in confusion. What the hell is happening to me? Is it because the drugs have seeped into my body through the phoenix's blood? Now it causes a reaction. Turns out she started to cry and said, I had to carry her before she would follow. So I did. My heart softened. Phoenix worried face. Brother, your body. Gyeong-su was still thinking silently. Nothing was okay at all. Black Lespedezas rushed to hug his head. With smug eyes. But however, for a moment, there was no sign of Gyeong-su in his arms. It turned out he had lowered his body and crossed his legs. Kick him straight in the right leg. Black Lespedezas said calmly, you won't be able to knock me down. He raised his hand high. Then hit it down with a bit of force. Black Lespedezas changed his expression. Damn, that guy you bastard. Gyeong-su stood outside and spoke. It seems like you've gotten bigger. But you've also become slower. Right. He glared at him, and asked angrily, what? Do you know where I come from? Gyeong-su thought tiredly, my body is gradually losing all its strength. He called out, Phoenix. Confusing Black Lespedezas. Phoenix. Gyeong-su continued, please follow the others and leave here. I will follow you. Gyeong-hee, take the children and other members out of here immediately. She hesitantly replied, yes, I will. Suddenly Lespedez's voice interrupted, get out of here, my ass. Gyeong-su's strength is getting lower. I don't have much time left. I need to end this quickly, he said, immediately rushed towards Black Lespedezas. He also excitedly raised his fist. So manly, I like this style. Gyeong-su lowered his head, threw a punch forward. He felt something dangerous. Black Lespedezas lowered his elbow. Gyeong-su promptly dodged, but was still injured right in the face. The phoenix stood outside worried. He could catch up with Mr. Bai Guang. I have always been a burden. She bit her lip, bowed his head softly, held a star-shaped vase in his hand. This was the end. Black Lespedezas provoked. You're slowing down. You also have a great body. Unfortunately, it was tainted with drugs. So now I can't eat it anymore. Goodbye. He threw a strong punch and wanted to kill you. A noise rang out. Black Lespedezas glared in surprise. Phoenix blocked the punch. Weak voice. I'm sorry, Mr. Bai Guang. I probably can't surrender and confess. But, Black Lespedezas got angry. Get out of the way, bitch. The phoenix said seriously, This time I will be the one to save you. There are stages to Phoenix's drugs. The tears of Buddha that was created by the former Phoenix P and Sang P. Improved version of the above two patches is Guang or light. The amount of pleasure and enhancement of one's physical abilities depends on the stage of the patch. Of course, the risks of what would happen after the drug's effects wore off increased along with it. The patch with the highest dosage is the Guang patch. It is strong enough to make Sang P go crazy with just a single patch. But there is a stage even higher than the Guang patch that even the senior managers don't know about it. Phoenix, after discovering that her body started to become resistant to the medicine when using the Guang patches, spent much time and effort to refine and prepare a much purer one. And the product from those efforts and time was named the Tears of the Phoenix. She decided, intending to only drink it once the Guang pieces no longer had any effect on her body, or to use it at the most important moment in her life. And she could be sure of one thing. The Tears of the Phoenix are contained in this tempered glass bottle. If drunk, she will wake up in hell then. At this moment, the Phoenix tightly grasps the wrist of Black Lespedazes. He was confused when he saw her actions. Next he was angry and wanted to punch her in the face. Get your dirty hands off me right away. But then Black Lespedazes didn't have time. Whatever he did, he was quickly counterattacked by the Phoenix. He stopped for a moment. As he spoke he was pushed back. A second later Black Lespedazes suddenly noticed something. He stared at his hand. Then he looked at the Phoenix and shouted, "You're drug-addicted whore. My pure body, my cleanliness." She didn't pay attention to his words and turned back to talk to her teammate. "Brother." Next she whispered to him. Although at first she was a bit bewildered with her words, the opponent also began to hesitantly respond, unable to bear the Phoenix's contempt. Then Black Lespedazes shouted, "What the hell are you whispering? You dare defile my body?" She glanced back at him and muttered, "Just as I thought. You are also a drug addict. My drugs don't even affect you." He exclaimed in surprise, "What? You whore too?" "Let me say it again. I'm okay because I'm healthy. I'm resilient. I am," said Black Lespedazes while holding up the fist rushed towards her. Before the Phoenix could react, he gave her a fatal blow. A genuine natty. That attack was so strong that she vomited blood from her mouth. Seeing the Phoenix collapse, he said, "I will kill you, you drug-addicted bitch." The Phoenix fell into a strange silence. In the next few seconds, she spit out a large amount of blood. Out. Immediately that amount of blood sprayed straight into Black Lespedazes' face. This made him uncomfortable and stroked my face. My eyes, you whore." Then when Black Lespedazes was focusing on hugging, then the Phoenix suddenly jumped onto his neck and grabbed him by the neck. A moment later she quickly threw Black Lespedazes down to the ground. Probably because she was suddenly thrown down. So angrily, he growled, "Oh, bitch." Right at this moment, the Phoenix took the opportunity to loudly call out, "Hey those cops. Take your teammates out of here." A policeman asked, "Why did she suddenly come out to help us?" Gyong-hee quickly replied, "It's not important now. Take Gyong-soo, the captain, and the children away from this place." Right at this moment a voice rang out, "Stop. I told you no one was allowed to leave here." Lespedazes suddenly appeared in the middle of the door boldly. This appearance made Gyong-hee, she was so angry that she gritted her teeth, not knowing what to touch, but she suddenly stopped. She slowly lifted her foot and looked down at what was under her foot. Gyong-hee couldn't help but be surprised. Back to the Phoenix and Black Lespedazes. He could no longer stand her control, but shouted, "Let me go. Let me go immediately. You dirty bitch." He quickly knocked her back to the ground. Then Lespedazes suddenly asked softly, "Little brother, do you need help?" He quickly replied, "Hurry up. Help me get this bastard off." His brother immediately replied, "Wait for me a moment. Let me kill these guys first." After saying that, he immediately moved towards the police. Didn't know what he saw but suddenly froze for a moment. Gyong-hee stuck the Guang patch on her face and sighed loudly. Also felt lightheaded. Lespedazes spoke in confusion. The drug police officer. Is she crazy? As soon as she finished speaking, she threw the remaining piece of Guang at him, causing it to stick to his thigh. Lespedazes. Of course he was very surprised when he observed this incident. Heck. Lespedazes was confused and didn't know what to do with this drug. He was so confused that he wanted to scratch the sticker. "Get out of my body." So disgusting. Drugs. So disgusting. But this opportunity Gyong-hee quickly said. Lee Seong-hyun took Kim Gyong-soo. Hee-jun went to pick up the children. Seong-hyun quickly took orders then responded to her. Having picked him up, Hee-jun immediately joined in. Me too. The police group didn't want to continue here anymore, so they immediately spoke up. Now, withdraw retreat. Gyong-soo try harder, the medical team is almost there. Gyong-soo lay on his teammate's back and thought to himself, I'm losing my sanity. Thinking about it, he immediately glanced back. The scene that caught his eye was only the Phoenix and Black Lespedes struggling to strangle each other. Not only that, Gyong-soo seemed to hear her mumbling, farewell, my dear brother. When the group of people left, only the sound of Lespedeza was left, awkwardly calling out, little brother, help me take this thing off. It's so disgusting. Black Lespedezas immediately responded, stupid, he took it away himself. A whore. He tried to struggle and tried to find a way to attack the Phoenix. And didn't know what he did, but she suddenly widened her eyes. In just a moment Black Lespedezas made a fist in the face of the Phoenix. You, let me go. His fist continuously clenched and punched her in the face over and over again. Each downward punch made Black Lespedezas even angrier and screamed. Once the bitch had attacked the Phoenix, Black Lespedezas let go of her and clutched her face in pain. Turned back to Lespedeza, he struggled forever to remove the optical patch from his body. I will find that orange-haired police bitch and kill it myself. He had just finished speaking when suddenly there was the voice rang out. I wonder where I'm going. Suddenly a blue smoke appeared from nowhere, surrounding Lespedeza, causing him to immediately use his hand to shield his face, and quickly closed the door. Suddenly opened. The Phoenix's voice was clear everywhere. You too, and I, have something to deal with here first. This is the end, so let's die together, Dadis addicts. One day in a dark and windy night, Bai Guang came. Gyong-soo spoke in a low voice. Today for the first time in his life he killed someone with his own hands. The girl in front of him gently continued talking. I know, I heard you killed Bai Guang before and officially became Yue. After listening, he spoke honestly again. He had a feeling. I lost something. Bai Guang shed 2 tears and asked the girl, have you ever killed someone before? The girl hesitantly replied, I haven't. Received her answer. Then he nodded and said, yes, of course you haven't. Please, don't change. As he said that he reached out his hand to hook up with the little girl. The other person was firm, waved his hand and agreed with him. Okay. Since that day Mr. Bai Guang, who became Yue, successfully eliminated murderers like him, but failed in his mission to eliminate them. Humanity and you were tortured and tortured by the abbot. But you were so talented that it was difficult for the abbot to kill you. On the other hand, to please the abbot I became Yue. I made countless people wallow in hopelessness and blame them for falling into a pit of despair with no way out. For not being able to keep my promise to him. But I don't feel any regret. He couldn't keep his promise either. Isn't that right? But I was wrong. I drugged and killed right in front of Bai Guang's eyes and I hated him. But I was wrong. I ended the stream of old memories. The Phoenix continued to fight with Lespedeza brothers. Because it was 2 against 1, so she seemed much weaker than the opponent. Lespedeza used all his strength to grab her hair and onto the Phoenix pillow. The biggest question in her heart right now was, me, why have I changed so much? In her mind suddenly there was Gyong-soo's voice. Medicine, that's the reason why I changed so much. She weakly spoke in her heart. Bai Guang was reborn. People say that if you created bad karma in your previous life, you will be reincarnated in the body of an insect or animal to eliminate your karma. After paying off your karma, you will be reincarnated in a human body. Mr. Bai Guang was able to keep a little human love and was born in a human body, so he could atone for his sins. Right, so in my next life, will I be reincarnated in the body of an insect or a Buddha? Or will I be reincarnated in that hell again? After a while of fighting, the Phoenix gradually lost all its strength and lay down on the ground. Black Lespedeza stared at her for a long time and then spoke. The effect of the medicine is gradually losing its effect. Look at her, it's so tattered. Lespedeza quickly chimed in. I think we beat her too much. While the 2 cousins were engrossed in conversation, they heard the Phoenix's weak voice ring out. Give me medicine, medicine. This struggle of hers made Black Lespedasis couldn't help but laugh. He was about to die, but she was still there asking for medicine. His brother couldn't help but speak contemptuously. Damn, what a naughty whore. Next he said while holding a piece of drugs as if to provoke her. Do you want one more hit before you die? We are addicts. Take that back for me. Then I will return this to your face. A farewell gift. Now take it back. The phoenix trembled and said, Medicine, you will really give me medicine? He immediately replied, Of course. She received Black Lespedasis' answer. She raised her hand tremblingly and spoke weakly. Phoenix's eyes looked at him with tears in her eyes. The childhood memories of her and Bai Guang reappeared. Please, don't change. My face seemed to appear before her eyes. Their two little fingers hooked together each other like a sure promise. She kept crying when remembering that memory. But then in the phoenix's mouth she kept muttering prayers. Medicine. That's right. If she dies. The opposite of her pitiful and weak expression just now is her strangely indifferent attitude. Hey you damn drug addict whore. Stop acting so innocent. You guys are no different. What me? In her heart she silently made a decision. That I must die properly. And before I died, right at that moment Black Lespedasis tightly grasped the phoenix's raised middle finger. Phoenix. And then he seemed even more crazy and wanted to kill the phoenix. We. Drug addict whores. How many times do I have to tell you? The people I ruined if I ask their fault. Black Lespedasis' scolding still resounds throughout the space. You damn whore. From the bottom of my heart and feel remorseful. Even if I can't be reincarnated like Mr. Bai Guang. Black Lespedasis spoke bitterly. The damned bitch. His hands tightened around the phoenix's neck as if showing his determination to kill her. While she was dying she kept speaking. I'm truly sorry. I'm sorry. I was wrong. Insect or animal. I don't care. I don't need to be revived in a human body. No, I don't need to be revived. So please, never, never let me revive in this place again. These words of the phoenix made Black Lespedasis impatient. What the fuck are you talking about? Whore, this addiction. In the next second he tightened his grip on the phoenix's neck, making her unable to speak anymore. When everything was over, Black Lespedasis let out a breath. Then he looked at his hands and muttered, My body is now filled with drugs. And then he turned back and said to his brother, Brother, let's go. Lespedasis heard that and immediately asked, Are you planning on chasing those cops in this state? He quickly replied, I haven't finished solving it yet. But then his brother asked again, even though their hospital is just hanging around somewhere. Black Lespedasis looked like he didn't need to say anything. I'm sure I don't care. I just need to kill them all. Are you afraid? Lespedasis calmly replied. Omi was a bit scared. Then he heard him say again, Brother, what's wrong with you? You still have something to deal with that orange-haired police whore. Lespedasis slowly continued, Little brother, you train your upper body so much that your brain has turned into muscle. We don't know how many guys came to help. Right. Seeing that my brother doesn't seem too excited, Black Lespedasis said, Leave. If you don't go then I'll go alone. But because I didn't want to let my brother go alone, Lespedasis reluctantly agreed. There's no other way. I'll follow you. And then they immediately received notice. Report from his ally. Lespedasis brothers. This is Orchio. Have you finished dealing with the phoenix? Black Lespedasis quickly replied. We are leaving after killing her. The other end again. The market guys are approaching your place. As we speak, they are climbing over the mountain. If you search in the club's storage room, you will find the gas tank. Burn all the cigarettes and pour out all the gasoline before they arrive. Then escape through the back door. I'll tell you the location. Black Lespedasis wondered, why did your bastard give me this order? The other side quickly said, that was the abbot's order. Lespedasis was next to him and quickly responded, so we will follow. Suddenly, from nowhere a golden light shined down. This made the two brothers Lespedasis immediately clicked. In front of the two of them was a pile of drugs falling all over the phoenix's body. Black Lespedasis couldn't help but exclaim, for an addict like you, this is a suitable funeral. Most of all, I want to take her body with me to raise that evil peony. Lespedasis quickly reminded, the peony will be angry about you feeding it dog garbage. Next, a big fire burned fiercely. Black Lespedasis' brother crossed his arms and looked at the fire as he said, watching the fire burn always makes me happy. Black Lespedasis is not so great. I want to urge you. Hurry up. Do you want to be a barbecue? the two cousins said as they left. So, goodbye you karmic whore. At the same time, in a hospital room, Kyung-soo sat up in panic. In that empty room, he held his head in discomfort. At this moment a sound suddenly rang out. Chirping. Kyung-soo suddenly looked in the direction of the sound and discovered there was a bird outside the window. He looked thoughtfully towards it. The phoenix operation on top of the paulownia tree was completed. It seemed like he was thinking about something in his head. At the same time UHWA was silently looking at the piece of paper in his hand, not knowing what he was thinking about. But the next second the monk immediately crushed the thing in his hand. And then he muttered under his breath, "Maze orchid." Another voice in the room rang out. "Yes, Mr. Buddha." Buddha immediately said seriously, "No, January to October. Gather everyone. The Buddha ceremony will start now." Kyung-hee woke up talking nonsense. Blah, blah, blah. She waved her hands wildly and said whack. BWAK, BWAK. The nurse also took the trouble to advise her. Calm down. Kyung-soo saw that and gave up. Crazy bitch. Suddenly someone appeared and said, "School police officer Kim Kyung-soo." Senior police officer Hong Jun walked in. "Is your body okay? Can we talk for a bit?" Kyung-soo followed Hong Jun. In the reception room of the hospital, Kyung-soo asked, "How long have I been on leave?" He replied, 2 days. He asked with a serious face, "Has the phoenix died yet?" He looked serious replied, "She's dead." Hearing that, Kyung-soo said, "I see, I should have saved her and got the information." His face looked upset. Was she really dead? Hong Jun thought for a long time. When he was on leave, there were some opinions about the police using real bullets. In Operation Phoenix on top of a paulownia tree was excessive force. On the other hand, there are politicians arguing against that, saying it was the correct action to take. So the war of public opinion broke out. Even the special armed forces died. But they just said it was because they used too much force. I don't know if they understand what it means to use too much force. Politics is always divided into two camps. If side A holds a circle, then side B holds a triangle. But if side B holds a circle in his hand, then there are many cases where side A holds a triangle. Kyung-soo was confused. What is so difficult to understand? Hong Jun continued. And finally, Director Ah Hyung, co-worker of Hee Jun and Seong Hyun. They said that they wanted to quit being a police officer. Kyung-soo was shocked. What? He said. I asked him to film back. But he held his head and sighed. You annoying bastards. Hong Jun stood up. Well, these are just some important instructions. First thing, you and I need to go a place. Let's talk about rest later. Kyung-soo wondered. Where? Hong Jun replied. To the place to visit the soldiers who died while on duty. Kyung-soo thought about it. Increase the ceremony. I have never been to such a place. Hong Jun reminded. Put on your military uniform. He stood up. Wait, before that, I need to go somewhere else. I'll be back soon. At Hwagiksa Temple. Inside the temple there is a golden Buddha statue. Everyone is sitting together. January's crane, not present. February bird and plum flowers said. Crane still didn't come. Again. March's cherry blossom continued. He thought we weren't busy. I was behind on some things. April's black Lespedeza rolls her eyes around. Why is she pretending to be so busy when she's not married yet? May Orchid, you're less busy. Do you want my support? June Peony is stroking 2 dogs. It's okay, my puppy doesn't bite. July Lespedeza thought, should I invite Cherry Blossom on a date after the ceremony? August Hollow Mountai, not present. September Chrysanthemum wondering, when will the teacher come? October Maple Leaf said thoughtfully, I understand. Shitnix is dead. Suddenly the door opened. A monk appeared. It was the monk UHWA. He asked, is everyone present? October Maple Leaf replied, January's Crane and August Hollow Mountai are not coming. UHWA said, Hollow Mountai has gone on a mission, erased the traces of the phoenix. February Bird and Plum Flowers asked, what about January's Crane? He was blunt. I don't know. July Lespedeza said, this is why the Guangs. March's Cherry Blossom replied, I think so too. Priest UHWA asked, does anyone know if the phoenix is dead? February Bird and Plum Flowers calmly said, if she's stupid, she'll die. Cherry Blossom scoffed, reward her intelligence. Cherry Blossom wondering, teacher, Today we are looking for December and November. Monk UHWA replied. No, you are wrong. I called you today too. One of you. He took Hong Jun's photo to show everyone. Going to assassinate General Manager Hong Jun. Everyone wondered. A policeman. September Chrysanthemum replied. If this is a mission, instead of giving it to us, the time limit is 1 month. So why don't you just kill him? Thanks to the kids you prepared in advance. Maze Orchid agrees. I agree. We weren't part of a real organization before. Nothing. So assassinating a police officer is a bit. Priest UHWA interrupted. I sent Bai Guang to Hong Jun before. September Chrysanthemum is suspicious. But, even Bai Guang, no matter how skilled he is, he will never be able to kill anyone. July Lespedeza added. He was originally qualified to be a murderer. Priest UHWA continued. However, now there was a difference. His memories of that time appeared. When he was beaten, he turned back. Bai Guang was covered in wounds and knelt in front of him, breathing hard. Bai Guang said, Teacher, that policeman is a very skilled person. June Peony was surprised. Huh, such great skills. That damn policeman. July Lespedeza sarcastically, looking at him. He looks like a pile of trash. April's Black Lespedeza wondered. That's impossible. Maybe Bai Guang hasn't revealed his full strength yet. Maze Orchid questioned. Wait, maybe he injured his own body. Teacher UHWA is not sure. I also can't believe it. So I should be more vigilant. Instead of killing him, he promised not to follow us anymore. But, what if he is secretly watching our every move again? What we care about now is whether we can kill him or not. So who will take on the task this time? Everyone silently looked at the photo in the hands of Monk UHWA. Suddenly Hong Jun hugged his body and trembled. What is it? His skin broke out. Chicken. On a certain mountain. Gyeong-su was climbing the mountain. He breathed heavily, thinking, on that day, when I lost consciousness, the last words the phoenix said were about the coordinates of a certain location. According to those coordinates, it is here. You go to the place according to what the phoenix said. What is on the ground? No way. Could it be it's under the ground again? It's just worm dung. Maybe digging this place up. Suddenly there's a bird chirping. Chirping. Gyeong-su turned to look. His eyes lit up as he looked towards the bird. That bird was standing on a rock. At night at Hwagiksa Temple, Monk UHWA was standing at the window watching the sky when Maze Orchid walked up and said, Buddha, public opinion is focusing on the Phoenix incident. Would it be okay to kill that police officer? Priest UHWA closed his eyes calmly. It would be okay. It would actually be beneficial for me. Maze Orchid wondered. What? He replied. Public opinion is full of stupid people who easily get excited about things but calm down quickly. It's better to solve everything at once and make them forget everything. Anyway, we have to kill him at all costs. So, Maze Orchid asked, is he that dangerous? For us, only January. Monk UHWA interrupted him. Not long ago, the masked man Bai Guang has come to Hwagiksa Temple. He is a very skilled person. That man and Bai Guang have a very similar feeling. Maze Orchid is suspicious. Is the masked man Bai Guang? Priest UHWA surmised. I have 2 guesses. One is, Bai Guang trained a policeman to avoid our surveillance. 2. Hong Jun, with his experience, he has trained a professional team to fight against Hwagiksa Temple. Maze Orchid said his guess. Bai Guang must be under our supervision all his life. So the first guess is not realistic. Monk UHWA looked at Maze Orchid and he spent his whole life at Hwagiksa Temple. Maze Orchid affirmed that because Hong Jun was secretly involved in the Phoenix incident. The second guess sounds more convincing. So if Hong Jun is talented enough to make Bai Guang covered in blood, then will January's crane alone be gentle? The statement made him ponder. He replied, Bai Guang's body condition has reached his limit after that bloody sweep mission. Now is no longer his peak. So January's crane alone is enough. Maze Orchid replied, I understand. So you will go now, how about resting? Monk UHWA replied, no, I still have to go somewhere today. You go first. Maze Orchid retreats. Then I'll ask permission. Buddha. He retreats beside seeing Hong Jun's photo on the desk. Of Hong Jun's senior officer school. You said he is very talented. We have to investigate.